Americans around the country are out on the streets saying, no way, right? We're not going to give up without a fight.
If we don't stand up, we won't have a country tomorrow.
We are fighting literally for democracy.
Every issue from taking away people's Social Security.
The sound of agitated Americans who took to the streets this weekend for what was called hands-off demonstrations. In all, more than 1,200 events occurred across the country, organized principally, but not exclusively, by Democrats to speak out against a wide array of Trump administration policies. I want to bring in Robert Costa, who spoke with Senator Bernie Sanders for CBS News Sunday morning about some of this tumult, some of the issues driving it, and where the protest movement or moment finds itself. Robert, great to talk to you. We have some sound from that interview I want to get into a moment, but Bernie Sanders is no stranger to populist roiling in American politics. Does he have any sense of how this moment is or isn't different from those in his more recent past?
Major, great to be with you. You recall when we covered 2017 and those early marches during the first Trump presidency, and there seemed to be at that time a galvanizing of the left, of many Democrats against President Trump. There's been a question in Washington and across the country in recent weeks: when would there be a resistance that made itself noticeable politically in this country? And the figure in recent weeks who has drawn more crowds, bigger crowds than anyone, is Senator Bernie Sanders, the progressive independent of Vermont. I also covered the protests over the weekend in Washington, Major. And if you couple together the weekend protests with what Senator Sanders and others have been doing on the road, you're starting to see an emerging opposition movement against the Trump presidency. It's been a little slower to action than we saw in 2017. But this time around, it's about getting working people back to the left, to not have that siren song to the right, as many Democrats worried happened in 2024.
And you talked to the senator about the state of American democracy, and I want to play that sound for our audience.
When we talk about America as a democracy, I think we should rephrase it, call it a pseudo-democracy. And it's not just Musk and the Republicans, it's billionaires in the Democratic Party as well.
That's a serious thing to say as a U.S. senator, pseudo-democracy, well, not a full democracy.
Look, you get one vote, and Elon Musk can spend $270 million to help elect Trump. Does that sound like a democracy to you?
Robert, that's heavy.
It is heavy, Major. I mean, to have a sitting U.S. senator call this country a pseudo-democracy, it makes you step back as a journalist and say, this is quite a crossroads we're at least in terms of how Senator Sanders sees the country. And this gets back to what I've been observing as a reporter and what we've all been covering at CBS is there is something that's growing out there against President Trump. But what makes it different this time is that when I talk to protesters over the weekend or talk to Senator Sanders, they're not talking so much about President Trump. It's about what they view as the power of wealth around President Trump. And that's a different characterization of what's happening in the country. There's really an anger towards, as Senator Sanders calls it, the billionaire class, Elon Musk at the fore of that, in his view, running the country essentially through Trump, where so much of the past Trump protest movements have been about Trump's character, what Trump is doing as president. This time around, it's a little bit broader in scope and theme.
Robert, you also had a fascinating conversation about the power of wealth in an entirely different context. Here in Washington, powerful law firms have resisted efforts by the Trump administration to do their bidding. Others have agreed and made deals with the Trump White House. And you talked to Senator Sanders about that. Let's listen.
What do you make of the law firms cutting deals?
Absolute cowardice.
Some of them seem pretty eager to cut a deal.
Because for them, you know, they're zillion-dollar law firms and money, money, money. So they're going to sell out their souls to Donald Trump in order to continue to be able to make money here in Washington.
What's the cost to the country when that sort of thing happens?
It is indescribable.
So, Robert, what is he getting at there?
Well, Major, you saw his jaw clench when he said money, money, money. He is going at the institutional collapse in this country as he sees it, whether it's law firms or other companies, really working with the Trump administration under pressure to succumb to what the Trump administration wants. Big, long story short, President Trump had this executive order asking these law firms to get in line or else they're going to lose business, lose the ability to work with the federal government. And these law firms are cutting deals. And the question is, How much pressure can the president exert across the board in all of these sectors? And what does that really mean for the country? Sanders says it has a cost to the moral and civic fabric of America.
And Robert, very quickly, he's an advocate. He has a very powerful voice in advocacy. Does he have one more candidacy in him?
Unlikely. I asked him about that, Major. He's 83 years old. A lot of his allies tell me privately if he was 73, they think he would be a front runner for the nomination in 2028. But he's not making the moves you need to run in 2028. But you never know. He didn't rule it out.
Would be a coveted endorsement if he doesn't run. No question about it. Robert Costa, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.